Hey everyone, it's me. Hold on, let me see if the sound works. Okay, it works. Hey everyone, it's me, Ari Dawson Rashid. I'm an anthropologist and sociologist. Please hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, to my member channel. Again, you can check my novels on Amazon. I've written quite a lot of them, and more upcoming. And please donate the links below. And if you wish to contribute to our company in Guatemala, please Um, if you want to donate to help us out, mention Guatemala to your donation, or if you wish to invest directly, email us so we can talk to you. But okay, before I continue, how are you all doing today or tonight? It's night over in the Netherlands where I am at the moment. That's why my voice is a bit low. How are you all doing today? Let me know in the live chat, please. How are you all doing? Let me know. Oh, Dementia's doing fine. I'm glad you're doing well, Dementia. Anyone else? I'm about to share the screen with you right away, so be patient. By the way, check the videos I recently uploaded. They're quite important. Okay? Those relate to the topic of the live stream, but watch them later if you watch the live stream now, but please listen to those audio messages I've uploaded recently. Okay, let me share the screen. How many of you ever heard of the Jonestown Massacre? Let me know in the live chat. I mentioned before in one of my other live streams, but just in case I'm asking, how many of you ever heard of the Jonestown Massacre before? Let me know. hmm Well, if you haven't, let's read. An apocalyptic called 900 Dead. Remember the Jonestown Massacre 40 years on. This is an article from Saturday, the 7th of November 2018, so it's more than 40 years now. Um, let's read. An aerial view of the mass suicide at Jonestown, Guyana, which took place 40 years ago on the 8th of November 1978. Okay? There's all the dead bodies over there. More than 900. Let me make this bigger. One moment. More than 900 people, many of them children, died in a mass murder-suicide in 1978 by drinking cyanide-laced punch at the order of cult leader Jim Jones. 4 decades ago this Sunday, the Reverend Jim Jones, why do you call him a reverend anyway? The charismatic leader of an American cult in the Guyanese jungle ordered his followers to murder a U.S. congressman and several journalists, then commit mass suicide by drinking cyanide-laced fruit punch. The Jonestown Massacre was, before 9/11, the largest single incident of intentional civilian death in American history. More than 900 people died, many children. It was also a devastating cultural trauma, the end of the last trace of a certain kind of 1960s idealism and 1970s radicalism. Jonestown's legacy lives on in the ironic phrase, drink the Kool-Aid. And actually, it was a flavor aid. So it was not Kool-Aid anyway. Although he would later become a symbol of the darker side of the West Coast counterculture, Jim Jones was born to a poor family in Indiana. Described as an intelligent and strange child, Jones was instinctively attracted to religion, especially charismatic Christian traditions like Pentecostalism. He cut his teeth at a street preacher and was, unusually for the time and place, a passionate advocate for racial equality. So at the time, he had the civil rights movement, and he kind of joined the civil rights movement just to get more people to relate to him. Okay, you see Jim Jones and his wife Marceline Jones seated in front of their adopted children and next to his sister-in-law, right, with her three children, California, 1976. Okay. Hey, they adopted, Ju- adopted African Americans over here, or I can say a Judean adopted over here, adopted an Asian. Oh, okay, okay. Anyway, let's continue. Jones' idiosyncratic blend of evangelical Christianity, New Age spirituality, and radical social justice attracted an enthusiastic following. He called this Burgonic Church the People's Temple. So, in just common terms, this guy wanted to attract people from Christianity, people from New Age, and people from social justice groups. He wanted to have a broad group that appealed to his ideas. So he came up with a mixture of teachings, including both the gospel, paganism, as well as social justice. Those, so he kind of made a mixture of all these things, just to attract as much people as possible. Okay. Although Jones' followers would later be stereotyped as sinister, brainwashed idiots, the journalist Tim Reiterman argued in his seminal book on a subject that many were decent, hardworking, socially conscious people, some highly educated, who wanted to help their fellow men and serve God, not embrace a self-proclaimed deity on earth. The People's Temple advocated socialism and communitarian living and was racially integrated to an exceptional standard rarely matched since. In 1965, when Jones was in his mid-30s, he ordered the People's Temple move to California. He drifted away from traditional Christian teachings, described himself as in messianic terms, and claimed he was the reincarnation of figures like Christ and Buddha. Okay, at this point, people should have left immediately. If you didn't notice, the guy had questionable motives. The moment begins to the moment he claims he was incarnation of Christ or Buddha, I'm sorry, you should have left. But anyway, he also claimed that his goal all along was communism, and in a twist on the famous dictum that religion is the opiate of the masses, that religion was merely his way of making Marxism more palatable. palatable. So he claimed to be a religious figure, even though he never liked religion to begin with. So he just admitted to his followers, I duped you all. Huh? Okay, let's continue. By the 1970s, the People's Temple, now based in San Francisco, had gained a significant political influence. Wait, so despite admitting he lied to his followers, he tricked them just to get influence, despite making blasphemous claims like he's the new Christ, or that he reincarnated some historical teacher like Buddha. I mean, they still gain political influence. Okay, let's continue. Jones' fierce advocacy for the downtrodden earned him the admiration of left-wing actors like Angela Davis and Harvey Milk, and the support of groups like the Black Panthers, a tragically misguided political affinity, given that more than two-thirds of Jonestown's eventual victims were African American. Oh, Lord have mercy. He claimed to care about racial justice, which was a topic quite relevant for African Americans or Black Americans, and well, actually, African American and Black American are political terms, but you know which people I'm talking about. Um, that goes from Judean Moorish descent. So more than two-thirds were from that group. Okay. The Reverend Jim Jones and his wife, I'm not going to call the Reverend. The People's Temple was, as David Talbot notes in Salon, successful in part because it was politically useful. Jones could be counted on to deliver busloads of obedient, well-dressed disciples to demonstrations, campaign rallies, and political precincts. There were already signs, however, of a sinister undercurrent to the People's Temple. Followers were expected to devote themselves completely to the church utopian project. They turned over their personal wealth, worked long hours of unpaid labor for the church, and often broke contact with their families. They were expected to raise their children within the commune. As show of commitment, People's Temple members were asked to sign false testimonials that they had molested their children, which the church kept for potential blackmail. What the hell? Wait, I mean, okay, I just want you to see my facial expression. If someone asks you to write a fake confession that you committed a crime they should not commit, so they have leverage over you, I'm sorry, but first of all, if you committed a horrible crime, you wouldn't want people to know about this so you can use it against you to begin with. But if you don't commit a crime and they want you to act like you committed a crime, so they can have leverage over you, so what? That's that goes quite far. You should run when people come with such questionable, weird requests from you. But this is what you see with any cult following. This is what you see with any cult, especially satanic cults, that eventually um, they delete your natural autonomy. Healthy groups, healthy communities, you have individuals collaborating together as a unit. So the natural autonomy is there, even though natural autonomy is guided by the vision of the movement or the group. So individualism, like you're your own God, you can do whatever you want, you can will whatever you will without regarding anyone else, that is bullshit. That doesn't exist. Natural autonomy does. And natural autonomy is simply your ability to be flexible in life. It doesn't mean you can do whatever you want just because you have ability to will or to choose. So individualism is not natural autonomy. The thing is, society doesn't celebrate natural autonomy. It's all about following the rigid patterns. If you don't, they make life hard on you. By either arresting you, put you in prison, or by blacklisting you, whatever. But the thing is, fallen mankind doesn't even want natural autonomy that God built us with. They want relief from life's challenges. They want relief from facing things. So that's why it's in fallen mankind to look for a cultic group to belong to. Society, it's a universal cult people are part of, whether they like it or no, whether they like it or not. They can choose not to be part of it as adults. But then you have local, direct cults that people often join. Okay? So let's read further. In his 1980 study of Jonestown, the writer Shiva Naipaul, younger brother of V.S. Naipaul, argued that the People's Temple was at heart a fundamentalist religious project, obsessed with sin and images of apocalyptic destruction, authoritarian in its innermost impulses, instinctively thinking in the terms of the saved and the damned. The saved and damned, so duality, us against them. Now, there will be a difference between those who are saved and those who are damned when Christ comes back, absolutely, forever. But for now, to only think in terms like this is not healthy. Okay. The result, Naipaul wrote, was neither racial justice nor socialism, but a messianic parody of both. Jones, who had long believed the US was in danger of imminent nuclear holocaust, had been searching for a place where his church would be safe during an apocalyptic event. Okay. I mean, if he's a reincarnation of Jesus Christ and of Buddha and all those other big figures, how come he couldn't save the United States then? Okay. Jones okay, now let's continue further. A magazine article alleging abuse in the People Temple spurred Jones' desire to relocate. Oh, so the truth was about to come out about this movement. It was about to be discredited and exposed, so that's why he really wanted to leave and not do with safety. He chose Guyana, a former British colony in South America whose socialist regime was politically sympathetic. In 1977, the People's Temple moved its headquarters to a remote area of Guyanese wilderness. Here, Jones declared they could build a utopian society without government or media meddling. Battling an oppressive tropical climate and limited resources, they began to convert the dense jungle into a working agricultural commune, so known as Jonestown. It was obviously built back then. The church delivered Jones' rambling monologues to Jonestown's inhabitants by megaphone as they worked. In the evenings, they attended mandatory propaganda classes. Jones' raid was enforced by armed guards called the Red Brigade. So, he had military backup. Joan, even though it was not an official military, but you can blame me. Jonestown had little reason to expect interference from Guyana, a cooperative republic whose government heavily ignored signs of the cult's authoritarian and paranoid bent. You see that? The public in Guyana, including the authorities, just let this happen. Didn't I tell you that evildoers cannot succeed in evildoing unless they're allowed to or facilitated by the public? Well, here you have it. Back in the US, however, parents of Jonestown's inhabitants, concerned by the strange letters or lack of letters they received from their children, had been lobbying the government to investigate. After a family in the US won a custody order for a child in Jonestown, paranoia escalated. The community became an armed camp, ranked by volunteers with guns and machetes, threatening to fight outsiders to death. During the imaginary siege, Black Panthers Hugh Newton and Angela Davis spoke to Jonestown inhabitants by radio patch to voice solidarity. Davis told Jonestown inhabitants that they were at the vanguard of revolution and the right to resist what she called a profound conspiracy against them. Sometime during this period, Jonestown began drills called White Nights, in which inhabitants would practice committing mass suicide. Jackie Speier, an aide to Congressman Leo Ryan, survived 5 gunshots. She's now a congresswoman representing California 14th District. Okay, okay. At the behest of concerned family members in the United States, the California Congressman Leo Ryan organized a delegation of journalists and others to make a fact-finding mission to Jonestown. The delegation arrived at Jonestown on 7 November 1978 and received a civil audience from Jones, but the visit was harshly called short on 8 November after a member of the commune tried to stab Ryan. The delegation headed back to the airstrip, accompanied by a dozen Jonestown inhabitants who had asked to leave the commune and escorted by Jones' watchful deputies. The delegates never made off the ground. As they boarded the plane, their escort drew guns and opened fire. They shot Ryan dead, combing his body with bullets to make certain, and killed 4 others, including 2 photographers who captured footage of the attack before dying. Wounded survivors ran or dragged themselves, bleeding, into the forest. One of Ryan's aides, Jack Spire, survived 5 gunshots and is now a congresswoman representing California's 14th District. Back at Jonestown, Jones announced that it was time to undertake the final White Night. To quell disagreement, he told inhabitants that Congressman Ryan had already been murdered, sealing the commune's fate and making revolutionary suicide the only possible outcome. The people of Jonestown, some accepted, some serene, others probably coerced, agreed to receive cups of cyanide punch and syringes. The children, more than 300, were poisoned first, and can be heard crying and wailing on the commune's own audio tapes, later recovered by the FBI. When Guyanese troops reached Jonestown the next morning, they discovered an eerie, silent vista, frozen in time and littered with bodies. A tiny number of survivors, many people who had hidden during the poisoning, emerged. One elderly woman who slept during the entire ordeal awoke to discover everyone dead. Jones was found dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot. Okay, hold on. Let me share the screen again. Okay, so you can see it over here. Okay, let's go. You see how horrible this scenario was? Look at this. Over, forget about the children, okay? 600 adults participate in killing themselves like that? What? Look at all of this, y'all. U.S. military personnel remove American bodies from Jonestown, Guyana for repatriation. Okay, let me see. One of the journalists attacked on the airstrip, Tim Reiterman of the San Francisco Examiner, survived 2 bullet wounds and went to write Raven, the untold story of the Reverend Jones and his people. Some consider it the definite history of the Jones cult. Reiterman has argued that it is impossible to separate Jonestown from its political and social context. The People's Temple was, as many communes, cults, churches, and social movements are an alternative to the established social order, a nation to itself. An alternative to the established social order. What's established social order? You mean society. That means society is not a good thing. Because if society was a good thing, everyone would gladly want to be a part of it, and it wouldn't even be a desire to uh, look for alternatives. Okay, but that's something they don't admit. How can you expect a worldling to be against the world? But anyway, if though the worldlings were upset with the world, but if they're not born again, they're still part of the world. Okay, let's continue. He wrote in Raven, the temple I knew was not populated by masochists and half-wits, so it followed that the members who gave years of labor, life-saving homes, children, and in some cases their own lives, had been getting into something in return. Had been getting something in return. He recalled, writing added, when outsiders took the attitude that they or the children would never be crazy or vulnerable enough to join such an organization, such complacency is self-delusion. Okay. Okay. Question. How do you all feel now that I read this thing, knowing about this with them? How do you feel about this whole situation? Let me know in the live chat. I'll wait for your comments. Oh, by the way, if you're in traffic, driving, pay attention to the road. Stay hands-free. Don't type in the live chat, please. Safety first. No traffic accidents on my watch. Thank you very much. But anyway, how do you feel about this whole thing that happened? 300 children poisoned, 600 adults poisoned themselves, committed mass suicide because some weirdo told them it's the only way. Even though this weirdo claimed to be the incarnation of Jesus Christ and all of that. How do you feel reading this? Just let me know in the live chat now. Let me know. Hmm. Well, I'll wait for 30 seconds more, then I continue. Because I just want you guys, as many of you as possible, to tell me how you feel about this. Maria said, hold on. Why is my mouse not working? One moment, guys. Oh, yeah. I'm like, how could that happen? I'm about to explain this. Let me let me tell you one thing. By the way, I especially feel bad for the children. They had no choice in this. The adults, I feel bad for them too on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm thinking, hold on a minute. What the heck were you thinking? You hear me? Diane said this has impacted me in such a way that I am labeled difficult to pastors. Okay. What if I told you that things like this happen throughout human history? You may say, Rashid, come on now. Jonestown was an exception of people, hundreds of people being so crazy to have a suicide pact like that. Well, Rashid, this is something exceptional. Something. Are you sure? Okay. Let me share the screen again. Hold on. This whole Wikipedia article called mass suicide. Let's read it. Mass suicide is a form of suicide occurring when a group of people simultaneously kill themselves. Mass suicide often occurs in religious settings. In war, defeated groups may resort to mass suicide rather than being captured. Suicide pacts are a form of mass suicide that are sometimes planned or carried out by small groups of depressed or hopeless people. Mass suicides have been used as a form of political protest. Again, a suicide pact is an agreed plan between two or more individuals who die by suicide. The plan may be tied together or separately and close timed. This whole research about it, but let's go back here. Attitudes towards mass suicide change according to place and circumstance. People who resort to mass suicide rather than submit to what they consider intolerable oppression sometimes become the focus of a heroic myth. Such mass suicides might also mean the grudging respect of the victors. On the other hand, the act of people resorting to mass suicide without being threatened, especially when driven to this set by a charismatic religious leader for reasons often which seem obscure, tends to be regarded far more negatively. Okay, if your country is at war and you're about to be captured and put in a slave camp, some people rather die than to suffer slavery like that. Even though I don't agree with killing yourself off in mass like that, I mean, what the hell? I kind of I can somewhere kind of get that people rather die than suffering a lifetime of torture on the slavery and all of that. But if people just in this case, there was an actual threat to their lives coming. But with mass suicides, most of the time, there is no actual threat against people. People just become suicidal internally, and together they take each other out. And they drag others with them, like with Jonestown, they drag the children with them. Mass suicides, which are not done because of military danger, like someone being captured, tortured, and all of that. Mass suicides were done out of religious devotion. They always drag others in it with nothing to do with it, whether they be children or others around. So, and sometimes people will make suicide pacts, even have political influence, and they drag the whole country or the whole of the communities into their self-destruction. Now, here are some historical mass suicides. Okay, following the destruction of the Iberian city of Iliturgis by Roman general Publius Cornelius Scipio in 206 BC, people of Stepa, knowing they faced a similar fate, decided to burn the city with all its treasures and kill themselves. Wait, so just because a neighboring city close to you was defeated by a Roman military, you now decide to not fight for your lives, but to burn your whole city down with all your wealth and kill yourself off? Okay, according to Roman historians, after the Battle of Aquae Sixtii in 102 BC, 200 women committed mass suicide following their loss. These were Germanic women, by the way. At the end of the 15 months of the siege of Numantia in some 133 BC, many of the defeated Numantines preferred to kill themselves instead of surrendering to the Romans and set fire to the city. The 960 members of the Sicarii Ju- Judean community, the term Jewish was later invented, so there's a big confusion about that, at Masada collectively killed themselves in 73 AD after rather than being conquered and enslaved by the Romans. Each man killed his wife and children, then men drew lots and killed each other until the last man killed himself. Some modern scholars have questioned this account of the events. Well, this is a horrible thing. In the 700s, the remnants of the Montanists were ordered by Byzantine Emperor Leo III to leave their religion and join Orthodox Christianity. They refused, locked themselves in their place of worship, and set them on fire. These pagans didn't want to join Christianity, so they just killed off themselves. In India, the mass suicide known as Yauhar was carried out by women and men of the defeated community when the fall of the chief city by the enemy force was certain. Some of the known cases of Yauhar of Rajput women are at the fort of Chittor in Rajasthan in 1303, in 1535, and 1568. In 1336, when the castle of Pilinai of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania was besieged by the army of Teutonic Knights, the defenders, led by Duke Mar Margiris, realized that it was impossible to defend themselves any longer and made the decision to kill themselves, as well as set the castle on fire in order to destroy all their possessions and anything of value to the enemy. If you're dead, what do you care about your possessions? In 1792, Revolutionary France abolished slavery in its Caribbean colonies. However, in 1802, Napoleon decided to restore slavery. In Guadeloupe, former slaves who refused to be re-enslaved started a rebellion led by Louis Delgre, and for some time resisted the French army sent to suppress them, but finally realized that they could not win, and still they refused to surrender. At the Battle of Manitoba, On 20th May 1802, Delgres and his followers formed men and some women ignited their gunpowder stores, killing themselves while attempting to kill as many of the French troops as possible. Okay, this was a kind of a different situation. During the Turkish rule of Greece and shortly before the Greek War of Independence, women of von Suli, pursued by the Ottomans, ascended to Mount Salongo, threw their children over the precipice or rock or cliff, and then jumped themselves to avoid capture, an event known as the Dance of Salongo. I mean, you also have relation motivated suicide here in the 17th and 18th centuries, 1840s, the People's Temple of 1978, of course. You also had the Yogmayas Jal Samadhi in 1941. You had the Solar Temple in 1994 to 1997. Heaven's Gate was another one. Movement for the Restoration of Ten Commandments. I mean, oh, should I continue? Oh, Shakahola Massacre, 2023. Happened in Kenya, 110 dead bodies. Okay. As you see over here, it's not only during military conflict that people make suicide pacts on that. It often also happens when people perceive like they've lost, even if the loss is not actually real out there. So you may think, but Rashid, there must be an actual danger that makes people become so desperate. No, it doesn't have to be. Because there are also many suicides that happened and there was no actual danger against people. The people in Jonestown, was there an imminent danger towards them? No, there was not. Each of them could have left Jonestown, go back to the United States, resume their lives, and continue living. They were not all fugitives. They were not all convicts who escaped prison or whatever. They were just, what we say, common people out there who end up joining this group and they end up committing mass suicide. Let me tell you one thing. Just like, um, let me share the screen again. Let me go back all the way to the end. Just like this writer once said, that people that think that they nor the children would ever be able to fall for something like that, he called that self-delusion. Now let me tell you, what I'm about to say now may sound very controversial, but I'm going to say it. Only those, only the human beings who fully serve the Heavenly Father, do His will on the earth, only they are immune from falling for this. Let's read some scripture over here, okay? Um, yeah, hold on. Okay, this is when Jesus said, Matthew chapter 15, verse 13 and 4, verse 13 and 14. But he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father had not planted shall be rooted up. Let them alone. They are blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. It doesn't talk about physical blindness, it talks about spiritual blindness. People have no clue what they're doing. Okay? Uh, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. Now the Spirit, that's Holy Spirit, speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. So believers who are not focused and serious about your faith walk, they end up being distracted and they fall for seducing spirits, which will lead to, to worldly fairy tales. Okay? There's a warning from Jesus, Matthew chapter 7, verse 15 and 16. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? You shall know them by their fruits. So believers that are caught by outward appearance, who are deceived by smooth success because they're so focused on only the material outworking, they fall for things like that. First John chapter 4, verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. So, and let's further, hereby knowing the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. It is a spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them. Greater is he that is in you than he is in the world. They are of the world, therefore they speak of the world, and the world hears them. Okay? So worldlings will end up following other worldlings. Okay? No. Um, Hold on. Okay. Okay. Let's go to 29. Okay, hold on. Let's go to John chapter 10. Okay. This is what Jesus said. John chapter 10, verse 26. But ye believe not, because you are not of my sheep, as I said unto you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. So following Christ is a relationship. It's not some religious pattern you follow at the church. Verse 28, and I gave them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. My Father, which gave them to me, is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. Listen, once you're saved, you're saved. Okay? There's no things losing salvation. The only thing that can happen is that when a believer does not listen to Christ's voice. So when you're not led by the Heavenly Father directly, you may fall for a lot of bullshit in the world. That's what it is. I and the Father are one. Okay, that's obvious. Christ said over there. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Okay, let's go over here. John chapter 10, we're going to start at verse 1 till 5. Jesus said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entered not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he that entered in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. So following Christ is not only a collective thing, it's also an individual thing. God know you have to know Christ personally. You have to be known by him. He already knows you anyway, but you also have to submit to him knowing you. You okay, can you all hear me now? Can you all hear me? Because the mic kind of fell out for some reason. Okay. So what I read over here for you, I hope you hear that because the mic crashed for I believe a minute or two. But what it comes down to is that look, the believer has to submit to the guidance of the Father, be led by him, And because they're led with Heavenly Father, they will recognize when it's God behind the situation. They will recognize when it's God speaking to them. And because they recognize the voice of Heavenly Father, or at least His guidance in their life, because not every believer is at the level that can actually discern the voice of God. But the moment they recognize Heavenly Father's guidance, they will never fall for a stranger. There are believers falling for strangers because they're not walking by faith. And now, let's read Proverbs chapter 18, verse 1 and 2. This New King James Version, which is more translated in the modern English. Let's read. A man who asks himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment. A fool has no delight in understanding, but expresses his own heart. So people with a narcissistic attitude just want to be left alone, don't want to face anything, just want to will what they will, always having excuses for not complying, always having their reasons how they think and feel. They don't want to be called out nor questioned. They just want others to verify how they feel on the inside, even if how they feel or think on the inside is not correct or it doesn't add up. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 14, verse 15. The simple believes every word, but a prudent considers all his steps. So you should examine the things you hear out there. For example, if you hear horrible stories about someone, ask yourself, are these horrible stories true? Or are they just slander from people who hate this individual? And if they hate the individual, why do they drag you into their hatred? Okay? Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3 and 4. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Humility is the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord means you're amazed by that Father. It doesn't actually mean a literal fear. It's which are rich in honor and life. So if you're amazed by the Heavenly Father and don't want to miss out on Him, man, you're in good company. So what do we get from all of this? Hold on. What we get from all of this is simply that if a human being it actually is realistic about himself and about his or her environment, that human being will likely not fall for things like these for these questionable groups, let alone very unlikely to end up in some suicide pact. But here's the thing: how many people out there are truly realistic? Because being realistic in this fallen world is not easy. It can be painful at times. I'm glad you're all here still. For some reason, the audio and video of my laptop completely fell out for like 2 minutes at least, I believe. I'm glad you're still patient, you're still here. So, okay, let me just continue what I was saying. By the way, can you all hear me? Let me know, please. So I'm on my mobile phone right now. Listen, someone that's realistic, actually realistic in their attitude, it's very hard for them to fall for questionable groups, let alone end up in some mass suicide. But again, how many people are truly realistic out there? And even realistic people can be tricked. If you actually want to be immune from this, you have to be continuously, every day, doing the will of Heavenly Father. When you fully do the will of Heavenly Father, I'm not saying people cannot make an attempt on you. I mean, Satan made an attempt on Jesus himself. So, who are you that they can't make an attempt on you? Jesus himself, who had no sin, Satan made an attempt on him. You, who has to recover from sin, both your own sin and a sin from your ancestors and sin from your environment. You think demons nor question people will not make an attempt on you? They will. But however, because you do the will of Heavenly Father, you are equipped to identify and recognize when things will end up, and you're motivated something about it. So the attempts will fail. Now, at your weakest, there will be attempts on you to get it wrong, but it will fail eventually. That's the only way to be what we call immune from this. Anyone who's not fully and truly doing well with Heavenly Father, 100%, they are guaranteed to fall for something like this at some point in their life when things get too hard. The thing is, Jonestown was a small scale suicide pact. But you also have large scale suicide pacts. That's when large groups of people become demotivated and decide to um, take it out on one another. Now, mass suicides on a large scale are an actual threat for the human species. The human species in its fallen state, always escaping. When we can't escape, or when we can't escape, we develop the urge and the desire to escalate somewhere. And we can't escalate the unrest begins to destroy us. So mass suicide is actually a threat for the human species. So that's why in ancient times they developed a scapegoat mechanism to relieve the public of their inner unrest. It doesn't take the full threat away, it just regulates it. The tendency for mass suicide is something that's in the human species. That's why things like genocide happen. That's why things like mass oppression continues. Because the human species, though the fall of Adam, has a self-worth problem. And to compensate this lack of self-worth, many of us will use violence to feel in charge. It is this feeling in charge we consider to be our worth. And you have whole systems out there based on this. Not just fascism, many of them. So, questionable groups, why do people join them? Again, it all comes down to escapism. There's something they're not owning up nor facing in life. That's why they end up falling for these groups. Simple as that. Now, if you're tricked into a questionable group and you sincerely want a solution, you're just tricked. But because you actually want a solution, you visualize what the heck am I into? But people that are stuck in such groups and they remain, even when things go completely south, and you think what that happens, they're invested in the tragedy. They are. Now, before we continue, I'm almost done with the live stream anyway. How many of you had a relative or someone close to you while you grew up, or someone just like someone like a relative or family member? How many of you had someone close to you, either when you grew up or now as a grown man or woman, that fell for a questionable group? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. Hmm. Okay. I've known people who fell for questionable groups. Actually, quite some. Well, there are many of them in the Netherlands anyway, hundreds of these questionable groups. But one thing I've noticed what everyone felt is questionable groups. When you look at their lives, at the first glance at their lives, you will notice that something's missing. They have a job, they grew up in a two-parent household, um, they're not they're not a criminal, they have no criminal record, all of that. And again, they have a job and all that. They have a social group, people that they socialize with. So at first glance, you don't realize something's missing. When you actually look deeper into these people, you realize that a lot is missing here. But the thing is, those people don't want to admit something is missing. Let alone acknowledge that they have to do something about it. They have to get themselves into safety. And because this denial, this group that offers an escape got their attention. Because that's all question groups offer, an escape. Okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Please answer in the live chat if you're not in traffic. If you go to the supermarket, or let's say you go, if you, let's say you go to, let's say, a butcher to get some meat, are you just going to say, I want meat? The butcher's going to ask you, what meat? You want chicken? You want beef? You want veal? Uh, you want horse meat? What meat do you want? Can you go to a butcher say, I just want 2 kilograms of meat or 2 pounds of meat? And will that work out well? Will the butcher understand what to serve you? If you go to a butcher say, I want 2 pounds of meat, without clarifying what meat you want, is that going to go well? Let me know in the live chat. If you go to a gas station, if you go to a gas station and say, I want some fuel. Thing is, do you want diesel? You want common gasoline? Or you need kerosene? What is that you need? Because if you put the wrong fuel in your car, you're in trouble, big trouble. So yeah, that being fake there doesn't work. If you go to the medical doctor or you go to the hospital, and let's say there's a surgeon over there who was told this patient needs surgery. The surgeon will answer, what surgery do they need? They need surgery somewhere in the chest. Okay, where in the chest? I mean, you have a lot of organs in the chest. What is it about the patient that needs to go surgery? I mean, a surgery on a lung is different than surgery on the heart. What is it? Well, let's say you have to let's say you need to get medication. There needs to be a specific medication to hand over to you for your complaints. You can't just go to the pharmacy and say, oh, I need medication against headache or I need medication for this. Okay, but the first medication for it, which one do you actually need? I mean, at pharmacies in the medical field, being vague can be quite dangerous because if you take up the wrong medication, you're in trouble. I mean, what if you have the fire brigade and they're called gentlemen, there's a fire. People are in danger. One thing the fire brigade is going to ask, the captain of the fire brigade is ask, where's the fire? Oh, 3 blocks away from you. Okay, 3 blocks away from us. Which street? Just 3 blocks away, next to the olive tree. You think the fire brigade is going to be happy with this? With a vague description where the fire is? Do you think it's going to be a good thing if the fire brigade is called for actual fire that the people are at risk of dying, but the operator doesn't give them the direct address? You think it's going to go well? No, it will not go well. Let's say a woman wants to press charges against a man for rape, but the woman is not sure whether or not she wanted sex or not. She liked the sex, but she doesn't really know for sure whether it was consensual or not. You think any judge or any lawyer is going to waste their time in this case? Hell no. They're going to say this woman just wants attention at the expense of her ex boyfriend or ex partner. She may be jailed now for wasting the police time. So, okay, vague communication can be dangerous and risky, but here's the thing: clear. What thing is, there's a difference between communication and aggression. You just saying what you want without regarding anyone else. That's aggression. You being informative and open, transparent about what you want and why you want it. That's actual communication. A lot of people don't understand the difference between communication and aggression. What a lot of people call direct communication is nothing but aggression. And at some point it becomes violence. Because if you're always just expressing what you think and feel without regarding anyone else, without even checking whether you're correct or not, it's violence. So if someone is direct with what they want, or what they want can doesn't add up, or what they want they cannot account for it, it's still wrong. So just because communication is clear or people are direct doesn't mean it's okay. But the thing is, vague communication is always risky. It wouldn't work at the supermarket or at the butcher or a bakery or whatever. It wouldn't work in the medical field. Hell no. It wouldn't work either in court cases. Yeah, Your Honor, we assume or we feel like this the defendant is guilty. The judge say, oh, that's not enough. Is there evidence? Is there proof? There's a courthouse. You can't just go with feeling. So hold on a minute. If people in general want clarity when they do things in their life, whether it's they have to catch an airplane, they want to know when the airplane departs, when they need to check in. They don't want to hear you can check in the afternoon. Yeah, when in the afternoon? Because what if you arrive late in the afternoon and the check-in is closed and you can't get your flight anymore? I mean, when you have an employment, does your employer tell you you need to start at 9? He doesn't say you start in the middle of the morning. So if he says that in the middle of the morning and you arrive at 10 a.m., he say, well, you're too late, you're fired. Wait, tell me you said in the middle of the morning. I meant 9 a.m. Then you should have said 9 a.m. If he fires you for that, you can sue him and he'll get a fine. So where is employment going to work the 9 to 5 or doing or paying rent? I mean, the property manager can tell you, I want a few $100s in rent from you. Yeah, what's $400? 200, 600, 800. They'll give you an amount. If you pay them 400 and then say, but rent was 600, no, you didn't say they say 300. So in daily life, this vague, questionable communication, mm, people don't want to deal with that. Rightfully so. So why then are people falling for questionable groups? Well, I already told you the reason. When there's vague communication, either individuals is illiterate in the language. For example, if you have someone, for example, from China that doesn't speak English well, of course, how they communicate is going to be vague because they don't understand the language very well. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when people master the language, but the way they communicate or the way they speak is a bit. Um, you can't really make up what's really about. You get an idea what they want, which direction is going, but you can't actually point out what it really is. Either they have something to hide. For example, let's say you have someone wants to sell their house, but they know there's a lot of mold in the house, deep in the ground. If they will be open about this, most will say, I want to buy this house. So because they want to get rid of the house as soon as possible, they are very vague when answering questions about the physical condition of the house. Say, well, the house is well maintained every year. They keep emphasizing that the house is maintained every year. You didn't even ask if the house is maintained every year, but you keep mentioning how good condition the house is, even when it's not even appropriate to mention that. Then you think, oh, why do you keep mentioning how it's well maintained? Why do you keep emphasizing this? Oh, we can see it's well maintained, right? Then you think what goes on over here. So if you have something to hide, or their motives cannot be justified. When people have something to hide, Some they know that if this comes out, they can't get away with it. Or when people have motives they cannot justify, they always have this vague communication with them. For example, let's say now people are voting for a political party, and a political party is all about law and order. But then most of the people of the political party have either a criminal record or they're on scandals all the time. So you think to yourself, "Don't a minute, this political party is a scandal. Almost all the members of the political party are either have a criminal record or they're arrested by the police. What is this?" So when you ask the people that vote for this party, why did you vote for them? Well, they're about law and order, they're about this and that. But you think, well, Dominic, if they're about law and order, how come they didn't select more qualified and more honorable people? Well, people are not perfect. We're going to expect perfection from them. So you think, okay, these people are a bit fake. Why can't they actually, the reason they give for voting for this political party doesn't even add up. You're very fake about why they vote for a political party. But then you notice that that political party has a racial bias towards migrants and some minorities. And they know that this political party often puts the blame for everything that goes around the country on those migrants or on that minority. So eventually, like dominate, these people are just bigots and racists. That's what they are. They voted this political party because this political party was verifying their inner toxicity. These people are toxic on the inside because they don't want to face themselves. They just want to project their waste and their toxicity onto those other people. And because this political party verifies and supports them in their dumping, that's why they voted for them. But for people to say, well, I'm a bigot, I'm a racist, I don't want to admit the failures of my own people. I just want to put all the blame of my own people on those other people. Nobody's going to say this openly. It's going to make them look horrible. They're going to lose their reputation. They lose credibility. Nobody's. It's even very shocking for themselves to admit this horrible thing about themselves. So they always will sugarcoat the most with, well, that political party, they're not a racist party, even though they often make racist statements. They make racist statements, but they're not racist. I mean, what? A political party makes racist statements, but they're not racist? What? It's not only in politics. You see this in many areas. When people's motives don't add up, they'll always have some fake story to kind of sugarcoat what they're really about. So the same is when people join these questionable groups. There's something about these people that's questionable. And the main thing that's questionable about them is that they are on the run. They're not facing certain things. When such groups gain leverage financially, then politically, then culturally, guess what? The moment they're questioned and challenged, and they don't find a victim to escalate on, mass suicide is triggered. Simple as that. Do you understand what I just explained? Let me know in the live chat. Mhm. Okay, hold on. Who doesn't understand the latest thing I've explained about fake communication, how to relate to question groups? Who doesn't understand it yet? Let me know in the live chat. So I want you to understand this very well. When people are part of questionable groups or movements, they often have this fake communication about either the group's behavior or the group activities or why they're even part of the group. And what makes a group or a movement questionable? They're questionable when their aims or the goals of the group don't line up with the will of the Heavenly Father. If someone tells you, we want to save the world, okay, you want the world to be saved, that's good, but don't you know where they have a Savior, Jesus Christ? Do you follow him? Or you don't follow the Savior? How come you, first of all, we cannot save ourselves. That's why we have the Savior. He's the Savior, not us. But you want to save the world, but you don't want to be in harmony with the Savior himself. Okay, that's questionable. And save the world from what? From whom do you want to save the world? If you say you want to save the world, it means the world's in danger. Who's danger to the world? Who's the one endangered? And how are you going to remove the danger from the world? You have to become specific now. Or let's say you have a group that says something like, uh, "We want, we want justice. Justice for whom? Or justice against who are the perpetrators? How do you want to achieve this justice? Is this really justice? Is it just revenge? Or, for example, you had Black Lives Matter that sprung up in 2012. At first glance, the movement appears to be about stopping racial violence against what we call Black Americans or Judean Moorish people. But even back then, I thought to dominate it. Where is the vision of this group? Where's their mission? What do they actually want? Where is their agenda? And because that was lacking, I thought, okay, this is a bit weird. So a group or a movement without a clear mission, without a clear direction, and that vision or direction they're in must be in harmony with Heavenly Father. If people just want a movement because they want to be left alone, live life however they want an excuse for being selfish, narcissistic. Well, even though they have a direct mission, that mission is harmful. It doesn't end up. It's not even safe for other people. It's not good. Some groups are openly questionable. Some groups are openly questionable. You can clearly see, okay, what's this about? But most groups that are questionable, they hide behind a good cause. Oh, climate change, um, or we want to make the streets safer. We're against violence against women. That's something that's often used. They are against violence against women. But okay, are they promoting healthy femininity? Are they promoting women being in a feminine role? If not, how are they going to solve the issue for women? Or they may say, we are against corruption. We are, or they may even come in the name of Christ. We're against heretics. For example, what's a heretic? A heretic is someone. As a matter of fact, let me say this: a heretic is someone who comes with questionable, disturbing ideas to challenge an authority figure. That's a heretic. If you just a bit more um, if you're kind of moving away from the common trend, you're just a deviant. A deviant is just someone who just is move away from the common norm, or they're non-conformist. But a heretic is an accusation that you're questionable and dangerous to the public. That's what a heretic is. Now, a heretic is an accusation. Now, if someone actually is questionable and dangerous, then the accusation is correct. But often heretic is just an accusation because you're calling something out that people don't want you to call out. Okay, let's understand this. Questionable groups are not always obvious that they're questionable. Why? Because questionable groups are often condoned by society. And because a lot of people don't even realize how questionable society is, how do you expect them to see actual questionable groups in their face? A lot of them can't see it. But let me tell you one thing. Every questionable group has one thing in common. They all have this vague speech when it comes to what they're actually about. Or, it's not always the case, or they have this fierce enemy they're fighting. Or they have a hyper focus on the enemy they're fighting. Or, if they don't have this fierce enemy, they're a bit vague about what they're actually all about. And this vagueness should be a warning for you to something off about this group. It doesn't mean that everyone in the group are bad people or evil people. It simply means something's off about the situation. It's one thing when people are flawed, but it's also another thing when people are trapped in a bad situation. It's a big difference. A group where people have conflicts and all that, okay, it can happen. People are in a fallen state, or people need to recover from sin, or whatever. Can happen. But a group where nobody addresses any wrongdoing, or a group where nobody ever questions anything that goes wrong, okay, that's just a bad situation. Okay? You know why a lot of people fall for questionable groups also? It's because they think they're independent. They think as a human being they can be independent, they can will what they will, and they think they're smart enough. Actually, let's say like this, they're proud. Pride, not admitting you're a vulnerable creature, needing the guidance of your father, and needing the involvement of other people. Pride is one of the reasons a lot of people can't realize how vulnerable they are. And that's why they can't notice when they're being taken advantage of. People who are proud often become violent. And let me tell you, violent people are the easiest to trick. Violent people are the easiest to trick into questionable groups. Okay, this is what Diane says. My understanding is that they are uncomfortable when I question their teachings. That is why I call myself such. I go against darkness that to trigger Jim Jones in my mind. Look, Jim Jones did not openly say that he just wants to have control over people. He did not only say, "Man, just join me and you can escape." He didn't say that because if he would have said, "Join me so you can escape," people would have thought, "I'm sorry, we're not drug addicts." The pride of the people would step in, but because he catered to the pride of people, people didn't notice that they were being taken advantage of. Or some people were not proud at the moment they were recruited, but they developed pride later on when they don't want to face the fact that they've been lied to or they've been tricked. Okay? Again, not every group out there or not every movement with dysfunction is a questionable group. It's expected to encounter dysfunction amongst human beings in this lifetime. So just because a group or a movement has some imperfections, that doesn't mean it's questionable. What it makes questionable is either when everything is too good, it seems too good to be true, but everything goes way too smoothly for everything is so smooth for them. When their circumstances and their success is so smooth, almost without any resistance, okay, that's a red flag. Or if the group always has problems and difficulties and never solution. In those two cases, it's obvious that they are questionable. But most questionable groups are not obvious. You have to calm down, examine what they're saying, check what they're not saying, and check the demographics they're attracting. Look at the demographics of the group. What type of people are gravitating towards that group or that movement? Look at demographics. Then look at what the demographics of people are saying about the group. Look at all of that. And once you realize, okay, this is not in harmony with Heavenly Father, unbelievers can have movements whose aims are close to the will of Heavenly Father. And Heavenly Father will then send people to direct them towards Him. That can happen. But you also have believers that join groups with other believers that are way off the will of Heavenly Father. So don't just check whether the demographics are believers. Check what type of people are they? What's their ethnic background? What is their nationality? What is their education level? What are their political views? Look at the demographics of the part of the movement and look at what the movement leaders are saying and not saying and look at the timing when it happens. Jim Jones was mainly successful because of the timing he did it in. If someone like Jim Jones would come up with their stories in the years early 2000s, I don't think it would have been successful at all. But because you had the civil rights movement at the time, you had the counterculture, you had the um, you had the trauma of the aftermath of the Second World War affecting people. That was you had decolonization happening too. A lot of the former colonies of the Western world became independent in Africa and in Southeast Asia because you had all of this going on, also the Cold War. People were overwhelmed with all these political changes, and that's why Jim Jones had the prime opportunity to do what he did. If someone like Jim Jones would have tried out these teachings in the 1930s or 40s, they would have been put in prison. So you also have to look at the timing of when things happen. All right? Okay. Are there any questions about this topic? Please let me know. Just let me know in the live chat now. Are there any questions about this topic? Dying, you're not a heretic, okay? They even call it stuff like that. They may call it like that because based on the fact that you don't give in to some questionable teaching they have. But just know, if you're cautious and examining things to make sure you will in line with your Father, you're not a heretic. You're not even a deviant in extreme sense, in extreme meaning of that word. Mm-hmm. Are there any questions about this topic? Just let me know in the live chat, please. Thank you very much. Okay, no questions? Well, thank you all for being here and listening to me. Thanks for your patience when the sound malfunctioned and even the headset and the camera disconnected. Thanks for your patience here. Keep a with Christ. Be at peace. Again, check my novels on Amazon. I've quite a few of them, as you can see. Check them on Amazon. Hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, go member channel, donate in the links below, and I'll see you next time. God is good.